Since the release of its very first feature film, Toy Story, in 1995, Pixar has become one of Hollywood's most celebrated animation studios. Ranging from superhero adventures to tales of a lonely robot on a post-apocalyptic Earth, the studio's films to date have earned plaudits for being artistically adventurous and telling stories ostensibly aimed at kids that have just as many adult fans. Even Pixar's lesser works usually have something to offer. 2020 was a big year for Pixar, having 2 new films come out, even with the movie business ravaged by a pandemic. The first one, Onward, came to theaters briefly on March 5th. The tale of a pair of brothers on a quest set in a fantasy world in which magic has been slowly drained away. The second, the jazz-driven adventure Soul, was delayed several times before its Christmas Day debut on Disney+. These came on the heels of the Oscar-winning Toy Story 4, which most likely brought an end to the studio's most well-known franchise after 24 years. So today, we're going to be counting down the top 5 Pixar films. Now, this list isn't right. It's my list. This is what I think. Let us know in the comments section what you think are the 5 best Pixar films.
Welcome to the Cinema Gold Show with your host, Larry Leese. From the small screen to the big screen, we cover all the latest entertainment news. Join us on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube every weekday.
And number 5 is Cars. By 2006, Pixar had been making features for more than a decade, so a backlash was inevitable, perhaps overdue. Into that awaiting storm walked Cars, a sweet, modest family comedy. Essentially Doc Hollywood starring a cocky stock car. The film imagined a world ruled by living automobiles, ringing laughs from a hot rod out of water scenario in which ultra-competitive racer Lightning McQueen gets stuck in a podunk filled with ordinary folks like good old boy tow truck Mater. Cars is Pixar's most nostalgic work, lamenting the sleepy communities and small-town values lost to the endless march of progress, which may explain why the movie feels so recycled, drawing from different genres without the studio's usual freshness. Still, it's consistently amusing, and for a whole generation of car-loving boys who grew up on it, Cars is as important as Star Wars or Batman. And now, at number 4, The Incredibles, one of my favorite movies growing up. It was obvious in retrospect that director Brad Bird would move on to making live-action blockbusters. This is exciting and riveting an action film as we've seen in American animation. If all blockbusters were like this one, we'd never object to a 5th Transformers movie. The key to The Incredibles' success is its economy of action. We are introduced to an entirely new universe, made and empathize with a likable and close-knit family, discover the parents' quiet dissatisfaction with what their lives have become, and then watch as everyone unites to overcome an evil force that wants to destroy the planet. It all does all of this in under 2 hours, and never seems to be rushing or cramming anything in. Take note, Marvel. You can create a world, balance a huge cast of characters, and still wow your audience without making them look up everything on Wikipedia afterward. Number 3, probably one of the best, most recent releases, Coco. Family is often a theme in Pixar film, but it's rarely been explored so deeply as it is in Coco, which tells the story of Miguel, a 12-year-old living kid in St. Cecilia who wants nothing more than to be a singer and guitarist. Unfortunately for the boy, his family has forbidden music ever since his great-great-grandfather abandoned his wife and child to pursue his art years earlier. Told with magical realism and an array of terrific traditional folk songs, Coco sends Miguel on a journey into the land of the dead, which allows Pixar's genius animators to produce one of their most dreamlike and colorful visual environments. The studio spent significant time researching Mexican culture and history, which adds authenticity and vibrancy to a quest-like tale about redemption, understanding, and forgiveness that will be familiar to Pixar fans. Still, it's heartening that the Pixar brain trust, amidst pumping out Cars and incredible sequels, still tries to give itself fresh challenges. And coming at number 2, Monsters, Inc. The placement of Monsters, Inc. on any Pixar list depends on one question. How much of Billy Crystal's shtick can you stand? If Aladdin is Robin Williams' Unbound, this buddy comedy gave the Oscar host his chance to go full Catskills, voicing Mike Wazowski, the insecure, long-suffering, wisecracking partner to the lovable James P. Sullivan, played by John Goodman. He travels the human world to give sleeping kids nightmares, the first of Pete Docter's directorial efforts. He'd go on to make Up and Inside Out. Monsters, Inc. argues that you can never go wrong pairing exasperated adult characters with an impossibly cute kid. Mike's kvetching gets tiresome, but the movie zooms along with whiplash speed. And come on, Sully's final reaction shot is just perfect. And now, before we get to number one, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Poddex, for sponsoring this episode. Visit poddex.com and use the promo code Larry21 for 10% off your first purchase. That's Larry21 for 10% off your order. And now, number one, Toy Story, my all-time favorite Pixar film to date. 20 years after Toy Story was released, some of Randy Newman's songs come across as creaky and the once cutting-edge animation looks rudimentary. Otherwise, though, the best comedy of the 1990s remains perfect. Pixar's first feature is still the template for every great movie that the studio has made since. Earned emotions, ripping action sequences, dead-on insights into human nature, and lots of giddy, witty, silly laughs. Toy Story is so funny because deep down it's actually a very melancholy film. Woody and Buzz's battle for Andy's love speaks to everyone's fear of being replaced, as well as our shared recognition that the innocence of childhood cannot last. As for the voice cast, they're impeccable. Tim Allen was never better, and even though Tom Hanks has won multiple Oscars, it's fairly likely that Woody will be the role that immortalizes him forever. And that is our list of the top 5 Pixar movies. Let us know what you think are the top 5. Send us a tweet at Cinema Gold Show. And if you like the content and what you hear, consider subscribing to our podcast on all major podcast platforms. And you can now find us on Good Pods. Check the app in the App Store or wherever you get download apps. And also, if you want to be a financial supporter of the show, you can donate to us, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Cinema Gold Show. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to our podcast on all major platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Cinema Gold Show. And like us on Instagram at The Cinema Gold Show. Support the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/cinemagold. As always, thank you for listening.